Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I have missed you so much. Don't worry about this little mark here. It is cured resin that's on the side of my rock, and we're not even going to see that. We're going to hide that. You're not going to see it, I promise. Some people feel triggered by some of the things that I forget to do or forget to mention. So I'm sorry about that. It is not intentional. I screw up. So if I forget, like a dot somewhere, or I don't know, a second coat somewhere. If I forgot, it's not intentional and I screw up, and we all do. So that's okay. Not trying to trigger anyone with my work. I hope that I'm here to please and to inspire. So, hey, today we are doing a droopy, colorful flower. It is a Rachel's Rocks droopy flower, so it is in no way a flower that you will find in the world. If you do, please pick it for me and send it to me. And yeah, that's all. You won't see one, I promise. This is a made-up flower, and there's no realistic about it. If you're only into realistic artwork or, perfection, please find a different channel. I am not perfect and never will be. So I have a really dark stone. As you can see by the resin that's cured on the side of it, it goes almost black. So I am being smart, and I'm going to prime my petals because I want them to be extremely bold and colorful against my dark stone. So if you want to know whether your stone is going to be very dark, run it under water before you paint, and see how dark it goes, because that's pretty much what it's going to look like once you seal it. So keep in mind when you use your colors, when you pick your colors and stuff like that, that you probably will have to prime, especially if you're doing a rainbow like I'm doing today. Some of these colors really do need a primed background, because or else they are just not going to stand out in the crowd. So I want each color of its own to be very brilliant and bright. So we're just priming it with white acrylic paint. You don't need anything special. You don't need to go scrub your stone with any kind of chemicals or anything before you start painting. If your stones are really dirty, you can wash them off using like a mild dish soap or what have you. But I really don't do much with mine. I don't want to, nor do I have the time. So I don't put them in the dishwasher and wash them all or anything like that. Nothing like that happens. They're fairly clean. But yeah, I'm going to make sure that each petal is primed so that I can make sure each color stands out beautifully. Now I am going to measure this rock, because sometimes I do get asked, well, how big is this rock? I don't even know what we're working with here. So I'm going to find my tape measure. Bear with me momentarily. And I'm going to measure this. It is, it's just over 5 inches, tall. So it's actually a fairly big stone. But you can do this on any size stone if you're able to paint on smaller areas very well. That's great. But this was a stone that I had, and I thought it would be perfect for this. So you can paint this on cardboard. You can paint this on paper. You can paint this on a canvas. You don't have to paint this on a rock. I was also told recently by someone to leave nature alone. So if you don't like painting on rocks, by all means, there's lots of other surfaces that would be happy to be colorful and beautiful and covered in gold. So by all means, it's for everything. I recently started painting on some canvases, and I haven't done it in a while. So, but I've had a little bit more time at home where I can't be working specifically, so I just kind of play around. And yeah, we'll see what happens with those in the long run. But you don't have to just paint on rocks, just so you know, guys. This is just something fun that you can put on anything. You can paint it on your phone case. It's up to you. I have painted phone cases. So I am going to be adding, now that my petals are primed, I'm adding color. So I'm going to list the color. This is Fire Engine Red. Each one is just going to change without you having to stare at me painting it. So the petals, by my own magic of editing, each petal will change and I will post the color. That way you don't have to search in the description for what colors I'm using. But there's going to be a lot of other stuff in the description for you to use. For instance, my fine lining brush, which I've used for most of this already, and my blending brush, which you'll see me using a little bit later. And my water droplet tutorial you might want to try out before you attempt the water droplets on these petals. It's just an option, but I do have one and it's pretty cool. Still listing the colors for you, but they will be listed in the description as well so that you can reference there. My resin tutorial, all sorts of fun stuff is going to be in the description of the video. So make sure you scroll down and check below. You might see a see more, click see more, and it'll show you all of my information in there for you guys. So I'm doing 2 or 3 coats of each petal. Some of these colors don't cover well, so they do need a lot of coats. While they're drying, I'm going to do a nice dark green. It's called Classic Green by Folkart, and that's what color I'm going to do the stem, which you can't really see right now, but it's just a really simple stem, kind of thick. And I've got 2 leaves, which you can't see very well. I'm sorry. I'm trying. I can't think of everything, but I'll move it up so that you can see it very, very soon. But it's very simple. I'm not doing any veins on the leaves. There you go. I am outlining the entire flower and the leaves and the stem in gold. Now that I have all the coats that I need on the petals. But I'm also going to just take a sponge here. And what is this part called? On the flower. Somebody tell me in the comments so that I can refer to it in the future. I don't know what it's called, so I'm just going to call it the bauble. The bauble of the flower. God. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know technical terms. This is what happens when you teach yourself how to do stuff. You don't know the technical terms and people think you're just nuts. So the bauble of the flower is nice and black. I will be adding some coolness to that as well later. You'll see. But make sure everything's dry before you start trying to outline it, because I've made that mistake many times. But all my petals have nice layers. I have about 3 layers of paint on each one. I started off using a paintbrush to fill in the color, but then I finished it off with a sponge because there's just way better coverage. It just seems to help. And I've heard from a few of you who have finally switched to sponges a little bit more and are getting more comfortable, and they think that it has changed their painting life. So I promise you, if you invest in some of these sponges, you will buy them for the rest of your life while you're painting. I promise you will, because I can't live without them now. And mine are so messy and dirty and covered in paint. But rinse them out after every use. Don't let the paint dry on them or they're garbage. They won't work very well at all. I literally have a cup with hot water sitting on my desk. And after I use it, I sponge it off in the hot water, dry it off on a towel on my lap that I have covered in paint. If I don't have a towel, it's on my clothes and they're covered in paint. And I'm a mess, people. I'm a mess, but it's so fun being colorful. I'm always colorful. So yeah, like, just make sure you rinse the sponges off after each use. You don't want to let the paint dry on them. That might be some mistakes that you guys are making if you're still struggling with them. Also, don't use the same sponge with every color. Try and clean your sponge really, really good before you switch to a new color or use a different sponge. So mine are getting really old and ratty and tatty. So I might have to get some more soon. I don't know. I haven't been inside of a Michael's since probably February, to be honest. And I'm dying to go. I have a feeling I should probably just stay at home and ease my way into it at some point. I might spend too much. I might go overboard. But yeah, so I am outlining all of these petals with delicious gold as well as black after the gold has dried. So I just want to make sure that each petal is seen. Each petal has their own little spot and they're all nicely outlined and they're going to pop right off the rock. Even though my rock is going to go black, this really does help it pop right off the rock. So keep that in mind too. So now we are moving on to the next stage, which is water droplets. If you have not seen my water droplet tutorial, check in the description. It will be there. You might want to go over that before you do this. Or you don't have to do water droplets at all. Just go seal it. It'll look beautiful. But I like this. It's fun. And once you learn how to do them, it's hard to stop. So with my fine lining brush, I've decided I'm going to put a couple of little droplets. Some petals have 2, but some petals only have 1. And they're all different sizes and shapes. They're not all going to be the same. They're not all going to be perfect. They're not all going to look realistic. It's going to look amazing, though, when it's done. That is something I always promise you guys. Have I ever let you down? Please tell me if I have, because I want to apologize. But I'd like to know if I did something. But I try not to let you down. I promise. That's my goal here. My goal here is to create with you, for you, to inspire you, to spread love. This is my way of saying I love you. Thank you to my, oh my gosh, I've got so many subscribers now. I don't even know what to say, but thank you so much. You guys are amazing. Loyal people, always sticking by me no matter how long it takes for me to bring out another video. I literally, you guys, I had like 4 or 5 videos on my old phone that just crashed on me and I can't retrieve them. My phone went black and it wouldn't even come on. Therefore, I couldn't like do the phone clone situation. I couldn't like get all my stuff off my phone and oh, it's been a nightmare. And I had so many cute tutorials for you guys. Really amazing ones and I can't get them. So I spent the first part of this past week trying to retrieve them over and over and over and getting very frustrated and pulling my hair out. And then the latter part of the week, I've been like, okay, Rachel, you just have to redo them. You're going to have to just start over. So yeah, I'm starting over. Here's one. This wasn't actually one of the ones that I lost, but I've been wanting to do this one for a while. It's June. It's Pride Month. I love rainbows. You guys love color and rainbows just like me. It makes you happy, just like it does with me. So why not? Why not paint a rainbow flower? I do have one of these on my Pinterest that I painted a couple of years ago, I believe. But I didn't make a tutorial for you guys. So here it is. Now with the water droplets, after you let those little black circles dry that we painted, you go in with a little bit of white. And I stick with the white along the bottom right of my bubble. I'm going to call it a bubble. Droplet. Bubble, droplet. If I use those terms, you know what I'm talking about. So I put a little bit of white on the bottom right. That should be a song. Put a little bit of white on the bottom right. Maybe not country. What else? What could I sing it as? But then I blend it. I take my little blending brush. I do have a tutorial for how I get my blending brush so tiny. There's a reason why it's so tiny. It's the water droplets. I have to be able to work in a small space. There is no sponges that size for me. Makeup sponges don't work as well as what I like them to. Like little eyeshadow sponges, they don't sponge as nicely. So I use the little brush, put a little white on there with my fine lining brush, then I blend it out. If I blend out too much, I got to add some green. So I bring in the green and I bring the green down. I want my pure green shade to be at the top left of the bubble and white at the bottom right. So this is just my way of doing it. This is my way of remembering how to do it. I don't know which way the sun's coming in, but this is how my water droplets look with the sun shining through them, okay? I don't know the technical terms of all of this highlighting and texture and all these, I don't know that stuff. I just know what to do to make it look the way I want it to look. I do the stuff to make myself happy. You guys with me, right? You're following? Okay. So they are starting to look like water droplets. Now make sure if you sponge outside the line, outside the little black circle, that you go back in and you cut that in with black paint again. Make sure you have a nice dark black circle, but don't do it too thick. Try and do a nice fine line of black. And then, if you've got white still that's maybe on the blue or on the purple, you can just go in afterwards and put a little bit of purple around there so you can't see the white smudges. But you can always fix stuff. You can always keep trying and then go back over it. You might have to wait for paint to dry if you make a mistake and go back over it again. But you'll get it. I did. And if I'm capable of getting it at some point, if you guys think at the end of this video, like this flower looks like it has some water droplets on it, I have succeeded in teaching myself how to do it, right? I have succeeded. Some of these droplets look cool. Look at that blue one at the bottom there. Looks like it's a water droplet. It's going to look more like a water droplet because there are a few very special magical steps to doing these water droplets I have found. And if you leave any of these steps out, it just doesn't work out. It might look okay at first, but then you're like, yeah, that doesn't look like a water droplet. So I'm making sure that my water droplets are noticeable. There's a nice dark line. I'm fixing my red one here because I wasn't happy with it, but you can do that when it's dry. You can do whatever you want. So I'm fixing that one, but also you want to add like a little bit of white gleaming. I call it a bloop. You've seen it before, guys. You've seen it. A bloop. I do bloops in eyes. I do bloops on water. I do bloops on all sorts of things, jewels, and the bloop brings it alive. The bloop makes it look a little bit more like a water droplet. So if you know what the technical term is for that little white bloop, I'd love to know. I will probably still call it a bloop though. Bloop, bloop, bloop. There you go. They look like water. This is a very important step. But then there's another important step. And that is watering down your black paint a lot. Water it down a lot. So that when you wipe it across paper, like a white piece of paper, it literally looks like wet gray. Like it doesn't look black at all. It just looks a little bit like a gray, watery black. Okay. Now, you're not going to be able to see it, and I messed up, so I actually had to wait for it to dry and then fix it. You can't see it right now, thank goodness, because you're not seeing me mess up. But trust me, I messed up. But I'm going to start it over, and I'm going to move this up so that you can see what I'm doing. And yeah, just know that it took like an hour for all the orange paint to dry on that petal. See how it looks on paper there? It looks like a watery gray on paper. But now I take that watery gray and I make like a little shadow. Look at that. These little water droplets need a shadow. So they look like they're sitting on the petal, if you know what I mean. So once I take this back a little bit, you'll be able to see it. And you'll be able to eye it up and see if I know what I'm talking about. But don't do them too dark. Make sure your paint is really watered down. It's the best way to make like a little shadow. You've probably seen me do it like along butterflies, probably my sparkling butterfly. Yeah, it really brings it up off of the surface. So you can see, I'm going to keep adding shadows as I chat with you. But the biggest trick is to water your black paint down. That's the easiest way for me to explain it. That's what's worked for me anyway. So you let me know if it looks like I did a good job on them. Let me know in the comments. Please share. Please hit subscribe if you haven't. I noticed that a lot of you who are watching haven't actually subscribed to me. And I promise you, it doesn't cost anything to hit the subscribe button at all. It doesn't cost you anything. And I get to keep teaching you how to paint cool things for as long as I possibly can. And if you hit the bell that's right beside, after you hit the subscribe button, there's a little bell. If you hit the bell and make sure you get notified on all of my notifications, you'll know the second I post a video. You will know immediately. So even before I do, because sometimes it'll say your video is now ready to be watched. And then when I click on it, there's like 17 views already, and I didn't even know it was posted yet. So you might even know before I do when it's posted. That's crazy to me. So yeah, I am doing, I needed more gold on my little bauble. So I'm adding just a little bit of gold. I sponge off the excess on a towel, and I'm going in just at the top, and I'm just kind of highlighting it like the sun's hitting it a little bit, because the plain black bothered me and I just felt like it needed some gold. You don't have to do that. You could stop at any point when you're happy with yours if you don't want to keep going. I keep going because I'm a little extra. but it's fun. It's fun, right? Why not? So I'm going to let you stare at this for a moment while I get it ready for resin so that you can see how gorgeous it looks once it's resined. I will be posting this in my shop, hopefully. If you haven't been to my shop recently and noticed there's nothing on the shelves in my Etsy shop, that's because there's not. It takes me a long time to get some stuff going, but I will be posting this week, so keep an eye out. Here it is. Look at how gorgeous that looks. The shine, the gold, the water droplets, the gold. You guys, I love you. Thank you for coming back and visiting with me and painting with me. Keep going. Keep smiling. Another one's coming tomorrow. I promise. I love you guys. Don't forget to subscribe.